Amethyst here. For those who are returning, welcome back to another video on my channel. And for those who are new here, welcome. Yeah, it's that time of year again where the year is coming to a close. And normally during this time of year, I would see people like making like New Year's or New Year's Eve videos and reflecting on the years and stuff like that. So I thought I would do a kind of similar type video where I'm going to be pretty vulnerable with you guys. Like it's not like I haven't been vulnerable on here before, but I think I'm probably going to be a bit extra vulnerable, just kind of talking to you guys about how my year was and how I've been feeling and stuff like that. So, this may not be, the normal type of videos where I'd either rant about something that I found interesting that I wanted to talk about, or like when I'm decorating my 3DS. I know I recently put out like my Wii modding video. I really had fun doing that. Um, but this is just kind of just going to be me talking to you and just ranting about things that happened and my feelings on just the year as a whole. So if it's not your cup of tea, feel free to like watch another video and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess I'll just start off with with my feelings on how the year went. I mean, I can confidently say that at least 2025 has not exactly been the best year for everybody. I know it hasn't been for me. Um, with the whole orange man coming into presidency, putting out all of these harmful decrees and statements, allowing ICE to run rampant and abduct people without cause. And then recently I've heard that the Epstein files were released, and it's been a whole shit show with that. And, just a whole lot of ridiculousness going on in politics. And then, the whole EA buyout and how that the presidential family and how Saudi Arabia is getting involved in that. Like that wasn't really fun to hear. And then just a whole lot of chaos that's been going on in the news. It seemed like the world just caught on fire this year. And it's not really an, a good thing to know, especially after like the history class, the Western civilization class that I took for the fall semester. Like the signs for authoritarianism and fascism is just clearer to me as day, and it's not really good to know, being a black woman in America, how that really comes into question of if I'm really safe living in this country. Um, but I'm kind of stuck here whether I like it or not, at least for the time being until I can afford to move to Canada. But so, yeah, I'm not leaving anytime soon unless my family decides to. So, yeah, that's great. But all I could do is just kind of just continue to speak out and hold out hope. I would encourage other people to do the same, to speak out against the authoritarianism and speak out against the fascism. Like No King's Day was just amazing. It was really a show of like the American spirit pretty much protesting about things that they don't that doesn't sit well with the American people. And it's kind of funny considering that the government and Trump was saying that the protests weren't effective, yet there was so many people from different cities coming together to protest against the new regime that seems to have taken place within the government, and it's not like this is the first time Americans has protests against issues that they don't agree with that are harmful to like a lot of communities. I mean, you had women protesting to vote back in the day. You had people protesting, advocating for civil rights. The civil rights ad, um advocates, there were abolitionists who protest against slavery. Yeah, America has had a history of people protesting, and that having and them protesting resulted in, positive results later. So it's kind of funny considering how the government that's supposed to be a representation of like America is not exactly the nowadays. It doesn't really represent Americans nowadays, which is kind of funny considering how, our founding fathers fought so that we didn't have so that we wouldn't and set rules in place so that we wouldn't become like an authoritarian government. And yet these same people who were voted in, who were born and raised in America, are doing the exact things that our founding fathers wouldn't approve of, which is honestly quite sad. But we have no one else to blame but the people who voted them into government. So I mean, the system is working, just not working well, I suppose. But at least in terms of me and how I was doing this year, I mean, this year, or at least the end of like the end half of this year, I've kind of decided to like learn more about myself. Like as I've already mentioned before in the other video where I talked about, the hair sculpting situation, I was recently diagnosed with autism and ADHD, and this was a question that I had for years now. Like I was more confident that I had ADHD more than I had autism, but I decided that I would try and get diagnosed for autism. Like my sister just said that I should probably get tested, so I went and got tested, and the results said that I do. I have the ADHD, and I'm still trying to learn about how my disabilities affect me as a person. I'm like learning quite a lot about myself. Um and things like that. I've also, decided to like go back into playing on my playing 3DS and DS games. Like I've already recorded a video of me redecorating my DS and my 3DS and also my Switch. I haven't started editing that yet. I was sick when I edited that video, and I'm still am. I think what I caught was COVID, because normally no flu or cold lasts like a weekend. It's going over like a week now, and I'm still not fully recovered. So also, if I feel kind of like low energied and kind of dead in this video, that's why I'm still not feeling the best. But yeah, I've been having so much fun getting into those. I haven't been doing as much drawing this year as I would like to, and I think that's probably because of some other issues that I will get into later. I haven't been really making a lot of stuff that I wish I did. Um, I think part of that also has to do with like my disabilities and everything like that. Um, but yeah, I recently learned that the indie web was a thing. So I started hyperfixating and creating my own website. I'm not done yet. I had to take a pause because I didn't want to spend the rest of the year hyperfixating instead of relaxing. So I that's on pause for right now. But the reason why I decided that I was just going to just start learning web development is because I'm kind of tired of these big corporations kind of just forcing AI onto people when we didn't really ask for them. And especially for artists, there's just become less spaces for us to actually post our art and not have to worry about it getting fed into AI models or and stuff like that. I've also been hearing a lot more cases of artists just getting bullied on these websites for no goddamn reason. And I just feel like perhaps maybe we should, start as artists. We should just start making our own spaces where we can feel safe posting our art. I did see one video stating that somebody is making a website that's designed that will be for artists. If I could find that video again, I'll put a screenshot on the screen. Um, but I haven't been interested in that because I think it's like limited how many people can get in for right now. Plus, I haven't really been making much art recently, so I don't think it would make sense for me to join yet another art social media and not really draw anything. I am on Kara, but um, I don't know. I haven't been posting as much. I mean, because I haven't been drawing as much, I haven't been posting much on there. So I don't really know if that place is good for artists or not. Um, I've just joined it because it seemed like it was a place that's good for artists, but I haven't been interacting with it much to see if it was good for me as an artist. So yeah. Once I like finish making my website and then making the gallery portion and stuff like that, I'll make a separate video showing what I made and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all the fun new stuff that I was doing, at least in the later part of the year. I can't really remember what I did much for the first half of the year. I mean, cause at least cause for the first half, like that whole situation with politics happened, and then I was like still in spring semester, and then I moved, and then well, not moved, switched jobs, and I got a new job, and then I started fall semester and everything. I mean, and then this year I went to Mexico with my family. It was fun, but it did cause me to be put in a financial bind, though. I mean, it was really fun. Um, Probably never again, especially if I don't have enough money. I'm not going to. Yeah, that was a learning experience, but yeah, lots of my a little bit of growing started at the second half of the year. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much like it's not really that remarkable in a sense, just but there's just so much that happened that year. It's kind of hard to remember all that happened and stuff like that. But getting into me and my personal life, um, what's been happening, not great if I'm going to be completely honest. For the longest time, for years now, I've just been in a pretty shitty financial situation. Now before y'all panic and get worried, no, I'm not necessarily asking for money. I've heard that there has been a situation where there has been a couple of individuals coming to YouTube asking for help for um asking for money and for help. As of what I know, there's only one person that I can confidently say that's been legitimate because of the abusive situation that she was in or they were in. I don't know their pronouns, but I don't. There's I'm. It's been iffy for the other person. It was said that they were going to refund the people who donate because of issues on their end. But at least from the video that I've seen, they were asking for help, but they were also asking for help for like stuff for like cinematography stuff. So I'm kind of like I'm not exactly sure if this person was being truthful. But like the first person, lost in learning, like they were absolutely a scam, and shame on them for scamming out for scamming those people, especially when there's other people who are actually coming on to YouTube, actually reaching out for help, as in the case with one of them. So yeah, that situation that happened, it led to a lot of harassment from the legitimate person's side, which harassment is never okay. Like, if you have a problem with somebody on YouTube and you think that they're a scam, just either report them or just either report them or and stuff like that, but don't resort to like harassment or death threats or anything like that because you don't know what's going through that person's life. Like, they're already in a abusive relationship in a very scary situation, and to have all these people dogpile on them like that is just heartbreaking. Like, people on the internet just do not know how to treat others with respect. It's really annoying and it's really saddening. My heart goes out to that person, but this video is not one of those videos. I'm not really asking for money, though. I do have a buy me a coffee, and I do have a shop. Like, if you enjoy like the videos that I make, or if you want me to make you something, like I have a shop listing for bracelets and I have a shop listing for me to make charms for you and stuff like that. Like, feel free to take a look at that buy me a coffee, but it's not obligated. I'm not expecting y'all to give me money, especially since I'm already working and I have people that family members that I can like call and talk to, um or that could help me, that they said that they would be willing to help me. So that's fine. You don't need to if you don't want to. I'm also fine with you just sharing my videos and engaging with my videos. Like, I like engaging with you guys. I think it's really fun. I'm not asking for money. This video is not for that. I'm just pretty much telling my situation that's been happening for quite a while now. So, for years, I've been in a pretty shitty financial situation, and it was mainly due to the father, quote unquote, that I live with, right? I had to work to be able to afford food and clothes and stuff like that. And I wasn't able to start college until like about 2-ish years ago. And I had to force myself to, and it was kind of last minute too. I had to force myself to get everything ready because my dad, quote unquote, said that he would help me, but he was making it a lot harder than it needed to be. And he was just making it a lot harder than it needed to be. And the reason he told me was so that I wouldn't have to take out any loans. But, and later he would say that, there were scholarships and stuff like that. But the problem is, he's not the one sitting down and showing me these things, and instead was just making the process and putting his 2 cents into a situation, and it was making it a lot more complicated than it needed to be, and stuff like that. So I ended up just doing it myself and getting into college. That did mean that I had to take out student loans, but I just wanted to start getting into college because I realized that what I was trying to do, like, cuz I was hearing all of this stuff online saying that, you don't necessarily need to go to college if you are good at what you do and stuff like that, especially for art, and I was hoping that I would be successful in that front. But, of course, nobody's telling me how to, get myself out there or anything. So I was pretty much just fucking around and nothing was working. Considering that I also liked coding, and a lot of coding listings out there pretty much say that I need to have a degree, I was like, alright, nothing is working on the art end, so I might as well just get into coding. I mean, I like it anyway. So that's why I've decided that I was just gonna go to college for that. Because, like, I was doing everything I could on how to like make money with my art, but it wasn't working. So, and I just wanted to stop working at these like low entry jobs and making minimum wage. I wanted to like get a degree so that I can land a job that I can start making more money so that it's easier to support myself, right? So I had to start doing that on my own. But my dad has not been doing what he needs to do as a father, and he hasn't, not once has he financially supported me in getting me into college. Ha- and not once has he helped me pay for furniture that I would need to live, and help me pay for medical bills that I would accumulate, help me help me give me money for transportation and all this stuff. Like, he has not been doing this for years now. When we moved back in with him and we were living in Virginia, for the longest time, we did not have a dresser and we did not have beds. We were either sleeping on the floor or sleeping on air mattresses, and this lasted for a good year, a good portion of a year. And even when we moved back to Pennsylvania, even afterward, yeah, um, we would have our beds, but number one, it took us so long to get our beds, and Gabby was able to get her bed, but the bed that I wanted, he waited so long that it ended up becoming discontinued. Like, the only reason why I wanted that bed was so that I could have some storage underneath. But no, I had to get a regular ass bed, a bed that I didn't want, and we still didn't even have a dresser. So we moved back to Pennsylvania, and we moved our beds. Like, we still didn't have a dresser, um, and everything like that. I had to pay $800 out of pocket, out of my own money that I had to work and save to get myself a dresser and a desk for school. And he did not help me pay for these things. He was spending hundreds of dollars at a time on his stupid ass podcast equipment, but couldn't spare any money to help his daughter get furniture. And the same thing would happen with other stuff. He would spend all this money on his equipment and stuff like that, but he couldn't give me that. He couldn't put that money into making sure that his other kids are all right. And it seems like this was a pattern even before when I was younger too. When we were having issues with our mom and our dad came back to get us and to have custody of us, even when we moved in with our stepmom, he wasn't really doing what he needed to do as a father to support the family. He would be spending hundreds of dollars on things that we don't need, and instead of putting that towards, clothes for us and stuff like that. These are things that my stepmom would tell me. There has been an issue where he would buy her a jacket that she didn't want or need. Like, he didn't ask her what she didn't ask her what she wanted, and he didn't even get her what she wanted anyway. It wasn't even a jacket that she liked. And it was $100 and something. Like, why are you spending $100 on a jacket that's not needed when that could have been spent on your kids? And this has been a recurring pattern. There's also been an occurring pattern of him just not, listening to people. And it seems like he only is worried about what other people think of him instead of what worried about what other people think of him, and not worried about the well-being of the people he surrounds himself with, the people that care about him, and people that he claims to care about. You know, um, I will get into the list of offenses, but later. But the whole thing that kind of just broke the camel's back for me was a couple of days ago, as of this recording, on Christmas. You know, at this point, him and my stepmom are separated, and because of a lot of issues that were going on between him and my stepmom, and he was arguing to have their my youngest sister, my the daughter that him and my stepmom had. Like, he was arguing to have her for Christmas, and she wasn't really willing to argue with him. So she just let it be. Um, and it was kind of sad because, like, I came over their house, like my step family's house, for Christmas, and we had a blast. But the younger one wasn't with us, which was a shame. But the whole issue then was, like, Christmas Day comes. He comes and he's outside, right? my one of my siblings, like the second oldest, my sister, um, she didn't want to go out and see him, but because of her faith and because she's kind and loving, she went out anyway and decided to greet him. And he doesn't greet her. He doesn't say hi or Merry Christmas. He says is, "Where is the youngest one?" I'm censoring names for privacy reasons. And and the amount of disrespect and rudeness that he showed towards her, like, my sister ended up walking away, and she felt hurt because, you know, she was still going out of her way to reach out to him and to be nice to him, and yet this is the attitude that she got. And I'm somebody that has been defending my sister since for years now, especially against like my mom's, like the bullshit that my mom caused when we were still living with her, and even defending her against the bullshit that my dad was causing, years prior. So I'm always going to be the first one to to defend my sister. So I go outside, and I'm pretty much arguing with him, telling him that he cannot bring this pissy attitude over to my stepmom's place. He cannot be doing that, especially not being showing this rudeness to my to the one his one daughter that's still coming in and is still trying to reach out, right? And he was being rude and childish. He was saying that she walked away, but she walked away because he was being rude to her. And then he was saying, "Oh, don't talk to me like a child." But he's not even acting like a child. He's had a degree for years, and he has nothing to show for it. He hasn't been there for his children. He hasn't been financially supporting his children. Honestly, he deserves to be scolded like a child because he cannot be mature and to step up as a dad. And then he says that, "Oh, I do not believe in Christmas, so I don't say that." Well, that's bullshit. Because number one, if you do not because number one, there are many people who do not believe in Christmas, yet they either still say Merry Christmas because, it's what everyone else is doing, or they say their own greeting for their religion. You know, they could either say Blessed be or Happy Holidays for a more generic term, or they could just say a simple greeting or say, "Oh, I don't celebrate, but hello, Happy Holidays. I hope you have a good holiday," and stuff like that. Like, there's no excuse for that, you know? And second of all, if he didn't believe in Christmas, then why is he picking up the youngest one on this specific day? Why not the day before or the day after? I feel like he is just trying to create chaos on purpose just to spite the stepmom, because for years after they've broken up, he has done nothing but speak ill of my stepmom and disrespect her when she's not in front of him, which I think is really petty and immature. So after that, I told him that I'm going to be spending New Year's with my step family since he decided to leave me last year on New Year's. Like, last year on New Year's, he didn't even ask me what my plans were or ask me if I wanted to come with him. He just left me to party out with friends. And I wasn't really mad about that. It kind of just showed where his priorities is, you know? And then after that whole interaction, and after he left with the youngest one, I pretty much sent him a long text, pretty much cussing him out. And then afterwards, I blocked him. Because honestly, for years, he's been making himself out to be the victim, saying that, "Oh, I'm making all these sacrifices and this, that, and the third." But yet he hasn't really truly been making all these sacrifices, because if he was making all these sacrifices, he would be working a lot, yes, but he would be making sure that we were financially stable. He's working all these hours, and yet most of the money he's making, if it's not going towards rent or towards bills, is going toward his stupid ass podcast equipment. He's not helping me pay for school. He's not helping me pay for medical bills. He doesn't even help clean around the house as often as I am, right? So he's making all these sacrifices, but he's putting money all onto this podcast that's not even making any money. right? Like, I understand that he didn't want to continue working for people, and I understand, America is not really a fun place to live if you're anything but white, male, or Christian. So I understand on that front, but priorities, like, where is his priorities? Like, it will be he's been years that he's been trying to get this podcast up, and he would, and this year and last year he would be talking about, oh, these will be done soon, stuff like that, and I'm up there praying that soon enough it will be starting to make money. But it's been close to the year's end, and I have not seen a dime being made from that podcast. I do not have months to wait to put food on the table, to clothe myself, and to take myself to school and to work. I can't wait for that. So pretty much it's just every time he would say, "Oh, he's making sacrifices," but he's not really making sacrifices, right? He's not really making the sacrifices. And he would constantly disrespect either my stepmom, my mom, me, and my sister, and he's not really understanding that what he's doing is just hurting the people around him. So I'm just gonna go off and read, or at least um go off and read the text that I sent him. I did swear a lot, and there were a lot of typos, but I'll try my best to read what I sent. So this is what I sent to him. I said, I have had enough. I have had enough with the broken promises, the pissy poor attitude, the neglect, everything. I kept making excuses for you, trying to see it from your side, but after the disrespect you've shown Gabby this Christmas, the one of your older two daughters that's still trying to reach out to you, I am done making fucking excuses for you. Yeah, so every time we would confront him, he would make it into this pissy party trying to guilt trip us and make it about himself instead of thinking about the people that he claims to care about. He's never cared about me. He's never cared about me. He's never cared about my stepmom or my sister. Um um I call her Gabi, but that's like her nickname. Um but yeah. Um I'll just I'll call like the second one Gabi so that you can differentiate between, the youngest one, Gabi, and then me, cuz I have a lot of siblings. So, yeah. Moving on. You say not to talk to you like you're a child, but you deserve to be scolded like one. You cannot seem to think like an adult, a mature adult. Now I know it's rich coming from a 23-year-old like me, but if Gabby, I, mom, and my stepmom are seeing the same damn problems in you, then I'm not speaking out of my ass. Gabby has made the effort to say hi to you even though she didn't want to. The first thing you say is Merry Christmas. I don't give a fuck if you don't believe it. Thousands of people on this earth don't. But they can still say Merry Christmas, or if they want, or Happy Holidays for a more general term. Or hell, even a different greeting like a simple good morning or hi. I still celebrate Christmas even if I consider myself pagan. Yeah, I still go and celebrate Christmas with my step family. Last year I celebrated Yule, because Yule is a Sabbath, and it happens around Christmas. Christmas did come from Yule. It came from a pagan holiday, but I celebrate both. I'm not specifically Wiccan or specifically of the other pagan religions. I kind of just, practice witchcraft. I kind of am developing my own spirituality and thoughts and my own religion in regards to that, but it's still a learning process, um, and everything like that. But moving on, it's also about the cheer too. Also, how the fuck do you say you don't believe in Christmas when you're taking so early in the day to spend time with you if you don't celebrate? Why not the day after, or before, or a few days before? Your logic is shitty. Yeah. Another thing that I want to point out is that when we were buying a Christmas tree for last year, right? He wasn't the one that um paid for most of the decorations. He paid for the Christmas tree mostly, but he used my Michael's rewards account. So he got it on sale using my number, right? I had to go with him to pick out the tree and to pick out the decorations. And things like that. I paid for the ornaments and everything like that. And my stepmom, um, also gave me some of her decorations that she wasn't using anymore. So a lot of those decorations he didn't go out himself to buy. And twice now he's made me put up the Christmas tree. So he wasn't even involved in putting the stuff together. So I said, well, if you do not believe in Christmas, then you don't need all of these Christmas decorations up. So I took down the Christmas tree, took down all the ornaments. I kept the ones that my stepmom has given me and the stuff that I paid for. Um, but most of them I threw out. And if he wants to put up a Christmas tree for the youngest one, then he's going to have to go out and sacrifice his time to go shopping for all of these decorations, and he's gonna have to use his own money to pay for these things. I'm not gonna allow him to use my Cole's card anymore. And if I find out that he does when he goes out to buy them for next year, I'll just either change my number or just disable my accounts because I don't want him using my stuff without my permission. So moving on, you have repeatedly been rude to me, Gabby, and everyone else who cares about me. You fail time and time again to listen to us and to see what we need to really thrive. And then you bitch and whine when you complain that we aren't listening to you and that you've tried your best as a father. You have done jack shit. You haven't done jack shit. If you did, we wouldn't be having these problems now. If you did, I would have felt more comfortable coming to you more often, spending time with you more often, laughing with you more often. Instead, I can't trust you with my money, my time, my space, and my overall mental energy. You want to give us, um, and what I mean by financially, other than the stuff that I mentioned before, he's also financially manipulated me to taking out credit for for a camera for his podcast, and I'll never do that again. I learned my lesson from that. It was a stressful time. He even had the balls to come and ask me for another one again, and I told him no this time, and I was firm, and he was guilt tripping me on that front. But I stood my ground and said no. I'm not doing that again. So you can see how selfish and narcissistic and shitty this man is. So you have repeatedly been rude to me, Gabby, and everyone else who cares about me. You fail time and time again to listen to us and to see what we need to really thrive. And then you bitch and whine when you complain that we aren't listening to you, and that you've tried your best as your father. Oh, I've already read this. You want us to give you all this respect, but you don't give the same respect to the ones closest to you. Respect needs to be earned, and all my respect for you is gone. So I don't give a fuck about you respecting you anymore, given the years of abuse you've dealt towards me, Gabby, mom, and stepmom. You care so much about your goddamn reputation than the ones that you claim to won, and we've all seen it. Instead of listening to us, you worry about what others are going to think of you, and that is not how a healthy relationship works. You bitch and whine about making this relationship work between us, yet the common denominator in these issues is you. You're the fucking problem. You do not want to you do not want to fucking listen to us. You do not want to truly put in the effort. It's all about you, not about me, Gabby, or the youngest one, or the people who actually give a shit about us. Mom was willing to spend her money to give us furniture to feel comfortable when we moved in with her. Often gives us advice and shares her experiences with life, stuff I wish mom or you would give us. Both mom and were willing to sacrifice hours of their time to drive us place to place, to pick us up or to drop us off. What do? You can't be fucking bothered to do those things. You can't budget so that we would have furniture and we wouldn't be without for so long. You make bullshit excuses as to why you can't make the effort to drive us to visit our loved ones, yet you would make time to drive yourself to these same places for your own enjoyment, spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on shit we don't need. Now, I'm not saying don't treat yourself, but the hundreds of dollars you're spending on your equipment could have been spent helping me get my dresser and desk, which was $800 out of my own damn pocket, could have been spent on my college fees, rent, food, clothing, bills, or even just straight up putting to savings. You constantly do not have your priorities straight. With the economy being shit right now, what you need to be doing is saving your money to buy the necessities and try to find ways to spend less money, even if that's small. I'm sure you've noticed that I stopped buying big groceries anymore. I simply cannot afford to. It's better for me to buy what I know I'm going to use. And I would say that you do the same too, because some of the stuff you buy sometimes I don't use either. I stopped cooking also because not only is it a mental strain, it takes up too of my time, specifically when I have work and school. But if I don't cook the way you cook and have it be done on time, you simply can't appreciate that I cooked at all and would nitpick. It turns into a chore instead of something fun. I'm not going to cook for somebody like that. I don't expect you to cook for me either. In fact, I don't want you to cook for me. Cook stuff enough for you to eat and to take to work, and I'll cook my stuff. A parent's job comes with automatic responsibilities. That's providing a roof over your children's head, making sure that they have food, and that they're in a clean environment. However, that's a bare fucking minimum. For someone to be a good parent, or hell, even a great one, you need to provide an environment where they can thrive and be happy in. Encourage them in school, be emotionally there for them, listen to them, help them learn the skills to be a functional, emotionally mature, and socially mature adult. But you have not done any more of those things. You did not you did not care. You did not. You did the bare fucking minimum and still want some reward. You want people to see you as some fucking superhero, and it's honestly sad. The amount of broken promises you made to me, Gabby, and the youngest one is disappointing. You have given the youngest one attachment issues in the past due to your neglect. The many failed attempts on your end to designate true time and to spend true to designate true time to spend with the youngest one. The failed attempts to ask us if we had plans well in advance for major events, not the 1 or 2 day before acts. You can't wait the week of to ask these questions. That shows you aren't planning ahead, and making these a priority is telling in itself. The many passive attitudes and comments over the years shows that you do not fucking care. I and many others close to you over and over and over keep telling you our grievances with you, and it's in one ear and out the other. You keep saying that we don't stop and think about you, but that's sounding like projection to me. It is you who cannot stop and think about others. It is you who doesn't ask us what we truly want and actually listens. I have had no choice but to rely on myself to get the stuff I'm able to get done, and of course with that stuff that requires me to pay hundreds of dollars out of pocket. Of course, that means I have to spend hundreds of dollars out of pocket. The one person in the household making more money, working more hours than, has finished their education, who is the parent, can't find the money to support their firstborn child who is struggling because she's trying to figure out shit for herself in a way that she can, who is in school and works also, but someone finds all the money to pay for those stupid ass podcast equipment worth hundreds of dollars for a podcast that isn't making money. And you wonder why Gabby and I don't talk to you, and you wonder why we don't spend time for you. Oh, it's such a mystery. How could this ever happen? Well, if you take all the accounts of constant neglect, is pretty fucking clear. We don't spend time with stepmom because we're brainwashed. You fucking idiot. Um, because he would constantly say that the stepmom is the one manipulating us, making him look like the villain, pitting us against him, when in reality he's the one that has been doing that, and he's done the same thing with mom, which I say in the same paragraph. So, um, we spend time with her because she is there for us. She listens to us. She is the parent you and mom never was to us. The fucking disrespect you constantly give stepmom, you need to fuck off. You pulled the same shit with mom, and I'm not letting it slide. Mom and stepmom has every right to say that they do not want you in their space, and so do me and Gabby. If we set our boundaries, there need no discussion. It's a declaration. And if you feel so fucking offended by those boundaries, that means that you have something to gain for them not being in place. They are not your friends. They don't need to be friendly with you, especially since you fucked them over repeatedly. And me and Gabby both seen it happen, so don't come out here denying it. So leave them the fuck alone. With the amount of disrespect you have given, you do not deserve respect back. You do not deserve a reward. You do not deserve a pat in the back. You do not deserve my love and attention. I'm not going to keep saying I love you to someone who is selfish, unreliable, narcissistic, egotistical, and somebody who is nothing but an emotional, physical abuser. You are nothing but a physical and emotional abuser. You are nothing more than a sperm donor to me now, which I will, for now, refer to him as sperm donor because that's what he is. He's not a father. He has not stepped up as a father. He has not done what he needs to do to help me, Gabby, or the youngest one thrive. He's just been pouring all of this money into all of his own things and not thinking about us. This is the last paragraph. Do not ask how my day was. Do not ask me how was school. Do not ask me to go out. I do not want to spend time with you. I do not want to share my energy with you. I don't want your fake ass fatherly love. I know it's all a performance. Take your fucking piss poor attitude somewhere else. And that was the last paragraph before I blocked him. So yeah, as you can tell from all of that, it's just years of emotional, physical, and financial abuse from this man towards all the people that pretty much give a fuck about me, right? And, you know, it's exhausting because I kept making excuses for this man, and he has not stepped up for me, for Gabby, for my youngest one. And when he first came back and took us from mom and tried to be the good father, quote unquote, he ended up placing me and Gabby in a private school. I'm not going to share what the private school was, honestly, because considering the amount of bullshit that happens in that school, I don't want them finding this channel and start bringing hell on me. So I'm just going to keep that name anonymous. But when I was that school environment was not a really good environment, especially considering that the majority of the kids there were white kids. He was not listening to me. He was not listening to my stepmom, especially when they were in the meeting with the guidance counselor, and she suggested that it's probably not a good environment for me. And the counselor was saying this isn't really a good environment for me, and he was being rude to the stepmom and not listening to her and everything like that. And during that time, right, I was just in a really bad mental state, you know, depressing, anxiety, all of that stuff. It was that environment, like the environment that he placed us in, and the lack of, listening and looking at what I need. It wasn't any different from the environment that mom was creating for me and my sister. He wasn't listening to me, he wasn't listening to my sister. He got me therapy but didn't give my sister therapy, Gabby. And when she eventually got like somebody to talk to, it was she ended up getting one of his coworkers, but he said to her, "Oh, don't tell the coworker my business." So he was worried about what the coworker was thinking with him instead of his own daughter's well-being. So, and now this is also what happened while we were there too. I think this was coming after like winter break and stuff like that. Um, so I think we were visiting mom, and we got home pretty late, but the stepmom wasn't there, and I think our stepbrother wasn't there either. And I think they were coming home soon, but we were really tired. We just wanted to go to bed, and dad was saying to greet them when they got home, but we were tired, and we said that, oh, we'll greet them in the morning. We'll spend time with them in the morning. But he was being rude and aggressive over the phone. Gabby was ended up crying and stuff like that. It's not like we were yelling at him. He was just being aggressive for no reason. We ended up hanging up and going to bed. But he was at work while those was happening. He fucking got an Uber to take all the way back home, only just to wake us up, put his hands on me, and drag me out of bed. And I was like not having it, so I was trying to leave, and he was blocking my path out of our room. And he was trying to take my phone, but I grabbed it back from him, and it ended up hitting my lip and leaving a nasty wound. Right? It was like a back and forth, and eventually I ended up going outside, calling mom, telling her what happened and stuff like that. And she ended up encouraging me to just call the cops, which I ended up doing. There was like a back and forth with my stepmom trying to take my phone, but I ended up getting away, and I ended up calling the cops, and it was a whole thing. The cops told dad not to interact with me or anything like that, but he ended up disobeying the instructions given to him, and it was still invading my space and talking to me and saying all these hurtful things. So, yeah, that time during my life was just not a good one. And it was, Dad created a worse environment for me and my siblings, and especially for the stepmom, because the stepmom would later reveal to me that when we weren't home or behind closed doors, he was physically abusing her and mentally abusing her, and as well as her, but also our stepbrother. Now that when she told me this, that he was abusing our stepmother when we weren't there, like honestly, that's a crime that should be punishable by life in prison. Honestly, because that boy is nothing but the sweetest boy you've ever met. Like he's super funny, super creative. Like for Halloween, he made a Foxy costume. Like the helmet was out of, and his feet were out of cardboard, and then he made the shirt and the little things on his arms out of cardboard. I think the shirt was like a regular shirt, and then he put stuff on top of it. But like the stepbrother, he was just a sweet kid, and to hear of that information, like it was just it was just more reasons as to why this man is nothing but a deadbeat and nothing but a sperm donor, right? I have more of a list of offenses that I've listed off the top of my head. Like there's probably a lot more that I'm missing, but this has just been years of abuse and neglect that this man has done towards me and towards the people that I care about. So I'll just I'll just list the list of the offenses, right? Okay, so these top ones are like recent. So Rude to Gabi on Christmas, I already explained that. And now this is something that happened after I got home from Christmas. Like that day I was supposed to work, but I was sick. Like I was sick all that week of Christmas. And I'm still sick. So, this is something that happened recently. Like I took off from work because I still wasn't feeling well. But yeah, after I get home, and he notices that I'm home, this sperm donor barges into my room, right? He doesn't knock or anything. He just barges in my room, doesn't say hi or anything. He barges in my room, no knowledge of my privacy, my space. And he starts ranting me about the message that I sent him, right? And I pretty much shut down this sob story because he was saying, "Oh, I'm not perfect as a father." Like the amount of times that this man has said that, like I don't care about that excuse anymore. We're all not perfect as humans. I get that. But you cannot use that as an excuse for your poor behavior. That doesn't mean that you can get away with disrespecting the people that you claim to care about, right? And I pretty much attempt to set a boundary on him not coming into my room without my permission. And he's blocking the way as I move his teacup out of my room. It spills and burns me, it gets all over the place. And he's threatening to kick me out, and call the police, even though I have not assaulted this man. I simply said you cannot barge into my room and violate my privacy. And he calls Gabby, ranting her to her, making me, my stepmom, and my mom look like the villain. And I've already told him not to speak ill of my mom and my stepmom, and of course he already breaks that boundary because he's ranting to Gabby. But honestly, like Monty has already told us both that if he is saying all this rude stuff about her, then you that we need to shut that down. And Gabby, I don't understand why Gabby did not hang up on him or set that boundary. Like he's said to me that she's pretty much a forgiving person and due to her faith and stuff like that, but still I don't understand why she can't exactly be assertive and make it known that she can't continue to accept this behavior. And I know she's still going through that period of realizing that this sperm donor is nothing but a piece of shit. So I'm still kind of like understanding on that front, but I feel like that if she doesn't learn to cut him out sooner or later, she's just going to keep allowing him to hurt her. And I'm at that point now where I do not want this man in my life anymore. um so And then he continues to make a mockery of when I'm attempting to set boundaries, saying that I don't care about the bills, compares me to one of my uncles, which I'm pretty sure he has fucked over many times, saying that I'm bitter, vindictive, and that I'm 23 and should know better. And when he is the one who should know, who is vindictive and bitter and should know better, saying that I'm not the one making the effort in the relationship, when in reality he's not the one making the effort. And then he then proceeds to break my boundary of not entering my room uninvited again. So he ended up mocking this time, but I did not invite him into my room, and he still invites himself into this room. Like, after this recording, like, I'm recording this in the wee hours of the morning. Once he comes home, I'm going to tell him that he can't fucking come into my room if I'm not inviting him in, because this is still a clear instance of him not accepting, like, listening to boundaries. There's a reason why mom for the longest time didn't want him coming into her apartment, and there's a reason why my stepmom doesn't want him in her house, because of the energy that he brings, and the fact that he cannot respect their boundaries. So they don't want him in their space, and I don't want him in my space. And when he come, because it's funny, because he came into my room saying that he's coming back because he's worried about me specifically. Well, first of all, why the fuck are you playing favorites? The youngest one and Gabby both need you as a father, right? I'm not going to let him give me the favorite treatment simply because I'm his firstborn, right? I'm not going to let him treat me any differently than my other two siblings because they need him just as much, right? And second of all, if he didn't care about the younger one, as he told me, like, he said that he cares about me specifically, not as much with Gabby or the younger one, but if he didn't care as much as the younger one, why the fuck did he come to take her away from her mother on Christmas? You see where his logic is really shitty? He's just a really shitty person overall. And then second of all, if he's saying that he's worried about me and stuff like that, then why is he so quick to make me the villain? Why is he so quick to to threaten to call the police to get me out? Why is he so quick to say all these nasty things about me if he's worried about me and cares about me as his firstborn? Lies. It's all performance. It's lies, right? So yeah, that was the second offense that I listed. The second other offenses that I listed, right? So, other offense, this is an early childhood memory. Told dad that mom doesn't want the good class cups in the sink. He ignores me. I then write a note and place it near the sink, telling him pretty much the same thing. Then later in the day, I'm in my room. I think this was late at night. I'm in the room. I'm getting ready for bed. I hear him, and he's crumbling the note that I wrote. So not only is he disrespecting the rules that mom set in her own apartment, but he's ignoring me telling him those same rules, meaning that even when I'm young, as his own daughter, and I'm telling him something that setting a boundary. This is again setting a boundary that shouldn't be crossed, and he's ignoring that boundary that was set. Because not even me, because I know as that child, mom made it pretty clear to me and my younger and Gabby, this is when we were little, when we were children, do not put my good cups in the sink. She didn't want them in the sink because she didn't want them to break, and we listened. So why is it that we as children are listening to that, but he as a grown adult can't fucking listening to that, even when a child is telling him the same thing? So, you know, yeah. So this is again during that period when I was in that private school. So this is when my mental health was low. It was like one morning I didn't want to go to school, and dad was arguing with me, and then I gave in saying that fine, I'll go. But he said that he doesn't want me to go to embarrass me. So again, this is what I mentioned, saying that he only cares about what other people think of him and not about his own children, that he's supposed to be taking care of. That pretty much shows how much he cares about me as a person and how much my mental health really means, you know. Says he's worried about me, a fucking lie, right? I already said this before, but he financially manipulated me into using credit for a camera, and then he asked me to do it again, and I said no, and he was guilt tripping me. Yeah, I already said this before. We already went a year or so without beds or a dresser. By the time it was my turn to get a bed, it wasn't the one I wanted. And then I had to spend $800 on a dresser and a desk that I had to spend with my own money. You know, was physically abusive to stepmom and mom. So this was like multiple accounts. You know, some stuff that I witnessed, me and my Gabby witnessed, and you know, stepmom already told me about the stuff that he was doing to her, you know, behind the scenes. I'm not gonna get into detail with that because that's her story to tell, and she already had lawyers and stuff like that, consulted with lawyers on that situation. So I'm not gonna regurgitate that here, but I remember physically witnessing the sperm donor inserting himself into mom's space when we were living with her when we were in Georgia. Especially when, you know, our stepdad, my other younger siblings' dad, you know, like I said, my other siblings, they were he was inserting himself into mom's space and arguing with with my stepdad. And there was one time when mom had to drop us off to his apartment when she was going to Jamaica. All right, so he wasn't answering the door, because she was dropping us off for him to watch him while she went off to Jamaica. I think this was before like our other siblings, like the other siblings that she had where her stepdad came into the picture. This is when we were still pretty young. Um, but when he finally answered the door, he had pushed mom low to the ground near the stairs of his apartment, you know? And me and Gabby had witnessed this, right? So moving on to another situation, I had another separate situation. I had witnessed him holding a knife at one point where him, another girl named Kim, and mom was arguing at his apartment while we were in his room. I ran out and yelled at him to put the knife back. So that was another situation. And then also he would constantly use me or Gabby as messengers to relay information about mom to him at other times, like when mom called the police on him, and he called and asked if the police was still there. You know, already said that he was physically abusive to stepmom behind the scenes. She has the receipts, and already mentioned him being abusive to our stepbrother when we weren't there. And I already mentioned how I already mentioned how dad would tell the sperm donor would tell Gabby not to tell her counselor about his business. You know, he would constantly raise his voice and curse when confronted, becoming more aggressive. You know, there's multiple instances of this during my time at the private school. And then when I confronted him about my glasses bill, because I needed new glasses, but I couldn't afford the bill, and I was asking him for money, but he didn't have money, unsurprisingly. And I was annoyed at that. And when I confronted him about them, pretty much saying annoyed that when it's time for me to ask you for money, you don't have money, and he was getting defensive and aggressive for no reason about that. And okay, and then when Gabby self-harmed, this is when we were still living with mom. When she told him about it, his first response is, "Do you not care about me?" Instead of comforting the person in question whose mental health is in shambles, right? So that's the other offense. Another offense was constantly making mom or stepmom look like the manipulators, talking bad about them, when in reality he's the manipulator, right? He would irresponsibly spend money on things we do not need instead of necessities. He did this with stepmom, spending hundreds of dollars on crafts instead of using that money for his kids. I mentioned this before. with living with and me with me living with him. He doesn't use the money to help me with school, clothes, furniture, and stuff we need at the apartment. We still do not have a working printer and a proper ironing board and iron. I had to spend my own money on a vacuum, a toaster, a small iron, cleaning supplies, and for a while food. The medical bills, or doesn't even use it towards savings. So I'm the one trying to financially support myself and him at the same time. And I stopped doing that because I can't afford it anymore. It's gotten to the point where I had to apply for a SNAP so that I can afford the food that I buy for myself. And it helps a little bit because I don't really eat a lot of I don't really need to consistently eat so much food. Like normally we would cook like food that will last for days, right? But meat is expensive, rice is expensive, and then having to put that all together, that takes time and mental energy. So I stopped doing that and just started buying stuff that's easy for me to eat and it's less expensive that way. Like I haven't even used up all of my SNAP because you know, it's not, I don't have to worry about constantly having to buy meat and rice and everything like that. I could just buy frozen food or macaroni and cheese or cereal or just snacks for me because I don't necessarily need to continuously eat all those stuff, especially since in reality, sometimes constantly eating rice isn't exactly good for you. And he keeps saying that he needs to stop eating so much rice and buy other foods and stuff like that, make other foods, yet he doesn't do it. So he's still buying the expensive meats, still buying the expensive rice. He doesn't just simply make a vegetable soup and call it a day. He will constantly diminish our feelings towards him, saying that he is sacrificing so much and I'm busting my ass for all I'm doing for you guys, saying that we're ungrateful instead of listening to us and he's just guilt tripping us. There's multiple offenses of him not communicating properly and designating time with his kids. Like I said before, either doesn't ask us whether me or Gabby has plans, or just waits until the last minute when we've already made plans. And he would used to use the youngest one with me overnight, even when I've had work the next day, and while he works instead of coordinating time to spend the whole day with her. Fails to ask me or Gabby what our plans are, and then he would get mad when we spend that time with our stepmom or our mom and stuff like that. And it's kind of funny because he would when I was having issues with mom, he would constantly keep bad mouthing mom, right? But when I don't want to see with her, he would say, "Oh, you should visit our mom. Life is short." Blah 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 blah. I don't visit my mom because of the issues that she's caused and the mental pain that she's caused and the abuse that she's dealt with me and to Gabby. Now, Gabby can make the decision whether or not to continue having a relationship with her. That's her. That's her call. She's the adult now. She can make decisions for herself. And it's the same with me. I do not mess with my mom too much because I do not trust her. The trust that I had in her was gone because of the shit that she's done to me and the stuff that she's did to me while I was there. So what and I think he did that to make himself look like all of this saint, this hero, this nice person. I think he's trying to do that just to make himself look better. I don't really think he meant anything real by that, to be honest. But just because like he's my dad or my mom is my mom, it doesn't give them the right. That doesn't mean that they're exempt from the consequences of being shitty people. You know, if someone was being a real shit to you, that mean and if you cut them out, that's the consequences of their actions, and they have to live with that. Just because the person is your sister, your mom, your brother, or something like that, or your father, right? That doesn't mean that they have privilege to just break your boundaries and to have access to your life if they weren't treating you with the respect that they wanted from you. So, but during this whole situation, I've talked to mom like if I'm going to move back in with you, we're going to have to set some boundaries and to let it be known of the stuff that I want her to acknowledge while I'm there so that we don't have the same issues again. But yeah, it's like um just because you're the parent, that doesn't mean that you can just treat your that means you have free way to treat your children like shit and disrespect their boundaries and everything. And it doesn't mean that you have free way to come back into their life once they cut you out. If you want to come back into your children's life after you treated them shittily, you're gonna have to put in the work to make sure that you become a better person worthy of entering their lives again. So yeah, that's the whole thing with that. Um, so he would get mad if we spend time with our stepmom. He would also cancel plans last minute and not take the opportunity to spend that time with us. So this is when Gabby was still living with mom in New Jersey. Because for a while this year and for a couple years, like Gabby moved back with our mom, and recently she moved in with our stepmom. So, but while she was still up in New Jersey, and when he was going to come up for Thanksgiving, he said that he was just going to come up to see one of our aunts and not Gubby, only, even though they weren't too far away from each other. Like they're close by. Like the towns our aunt um and our mom's place aren't that far away, so he could have easily come to see Gabby. Um, but he ended up canceling that last minute, and then he expects us to spend most of our time with him, and he wonders why we don't spend time. It's because he can't be consistent or coordinate well to make those plans. He can't prioritize making plans with us. And then he failed to listen to Gabby's beads during her time at the private school, failing to give her a therapist for the longest. And then when she did get somebody to talk to, he was worried about his reputation instead of giving Gabby support. And when I had family therapy sessions, he failed to attend those. And even when he did attend that one session, he was pulling the fucking be grateful card, which was stupid. You know, he had physically put his hands on Gubby's once when we were in Virginia. They were arguing. She walked away. She wanted to walk away from the conversation, and he grabbed her. And I stopped that real quick because I witnessed it. I slapped him multiple times and cussed him out. You know, and I've already mentioned this before. He will not listen when people are concerned for his kids. One of my aunts, his sister was the one advocating for me when I was having that mental episode while I was still at the private school. My cousin pretty much told me when I called him during the situation, that situation where dad was violating my space and barging into my room. He pretty much said that my aunt pretty much cussed him out, and everybody in his family knows that he's a piece of shit. So all of his family members knows that he's a piece of shit. His sister cussed him out. It's been years now and he still hasn't changed. Because I mentioned that he wasn't listening to my stepmom and the counselor saying that this environment probably wasn't the best one for him. And when they said that, he was aggressively furious at my stepmom. And he said that of course she is struggling. Every student at the school does. Which, wow, he needs a Father of the Year award for that. Like, why would you purposely put me in a stressful environment? That's not gonna help me get better. So, and I mentioned this before, he failed to help me start college and do my FAFSA, making it harder than it needed to be. I had to start the process myself and ask mom for information. And he would later complain to me that he's worried about me being alone in life he came into my room uninvited, again, this was months before. And I was just on my computer, coding something for I think it was Stardew Valley or for something different. I can't remember. But what but he was saying that he was worried about me, succeeding in life when I had to get up and rely on myself to get important things done. Yet he did not do jack shit. He did not sit me down. He did not make a game plan with me. He did not do any of that. I had to get up and apply for college myself and go through the process myself, asking mom for help for the FAFSA in the process, asking Gabby what she had to do for hers. He didn't do jack shit. We're still going. There's still this is like 12 pages long in the little notes app that I made. Another offense. I remember one time when we lived in when we were still living with our step family and we were all in that townhouse, and stuff like that. This is when we were still going to that private school, and Tita, my stepmom's mom, we call her Tita, and she was visiting. We were all at the table, and this is when Gabby was in her K-pop phase, um, and she was saying that she wanted to move to South Korea or something, and Dad responded to her very rudely, and this and stepmom defended Gabby, encouraging her, and then the sperm donor. I keep saying Dad, but I'm just reading from the thing, and the sperm donor responded very rudely to the stepmom, and I then defended Gabby too, and he responded rudely to me, and so me and Gabby left the table after that. So again, another instance of him being a piece of shit. So every time we would visit the stepmom, he would be in a pissy mood. He would call Gabby ranting to her, or he would rant to me. But we were adults capable of making our own decisions. There was one time after we got home. Oh yeah, this is I already mentioned this before. Like the whole issue with him greeting this stepmom, and him like coming home from work in an Uber, barging in and creating chaos. I already said that. Yeah, but that was the last thing. So yeah, all these lists of offenses, and there's probably more that I'm forgetting because this is just years and years of abuse that my sister Gabby, my mom, my stepmom had endured for a very long time. And I've gotten to the point where I'm just tired of it. I have been in survival mode for a couple years now. Yes, I was still able to grab buy some of the things that I was passionate about. I was able to get I have like a whole bunch of like Funko Pops like in the new bed that I got. I was able to buy new 3DS games and Wii games. I was able to buy, you know, all these other art supplies, but I would only get those things if I am 100% confident that I'll be able to afford that, plus stuff, afford and have enough money to afford food and transportation, and still have money left over. I wouldn't buy those things if I wasn't confident that I would have enough to survive after that, right? For the bed, I had to work so much and spend so little because that new bed that I got, it was like 400-ish dollars that I had to buy, and I had to put it up myself. I was so exhausted of the old beds. I just bought it. It came over, and then I struggled away of putting it together myself. I ended up scratching it a little bit while I was putting the shelf part on it, but I just wanted it done. I wanted more room in my bed and stuff like that. Yeah, like I bought it $400 and I put it together. It was like hours of work that I put into getting this bed and putting it together, right? And same thing with the dresser and my desk. I had to work and save so much to afford to get these things. And I was only able to afford like these little stuff because yes, they're less expensive, but also I'm working so that I can have money for myself. And yeah, I was able to afford all these other things, but I'm still in survival mode because I'm still struggling to pay off, um, debts that I have, struggling to pay off. For the longest time, I was struggling to pay off, like my medical bills and stuff like that and everything. And it was just heartbreaking to know that because I'm working part time, but I'm also in school part time, and the sperm donor that I'm sharing this apartment with isn't doing what he needs to do in order to help me, pay for these things and help me get into school. Ideally speaking, I should be focusing on school right now, having more classes and working on the weekends for like a little bit. But no, I can't do that because if I don't work, then I can't afford to pay for anything because I can't rely on this man to help me pay for the stuff that I need to survive. He's spending hundreds of dollars on his own thing, instead of focusing on his own children. And it sucks. And I'm really grateful that I have people in my family that are willing to support me and to take me in if necessary. But it's kind of hard to live with somebody who doesn't really prioritize your well being and stuff like that. You know, I understand being 20 and fucking up royally because I know that when he immigrated here from Jamaica and he was struggling. You know, I understand he wasn't really been dealt the best of cards growing up, but once he had his master's degree and he was able to work for more hours and be paid more and stuff like that, like he should have been making sure that he was um making enough so that he can put that money towards making sure that his kids are comfortable so that they don't have to struggle in the same way that he did. Yet he didn't do those things. I'm 23 and I have to be doing pretty much this shit on my own because he didn't stop and teach me how to get certain things done. Mom didn't sit down and teach me on how to get certain things done either. It's my stepmom that's actually giving me the life advice, but you know, she's doing her own thing, right? And it's kind of frustrating because the other day, right, we were, um, because I wanted to try and move out, and I was looking into affordable housing, Section 8, I think it's called, or trying to see if I can find roommates. But when we were having this conversation, she was, me and my sister were using accusatory language and stuff like that. And I was trying to defend myself, especially considering we were had this conversation after I got diagnosed with ADHD and autism. So they didn't ask me like, how is this disability affecting your ability to get these things done? How is this disability affecting your energy levels and stuff like that? They do not ask these questions. They pretty much point out accusatory language saying, "Oh, you have all of this time to get these things done" and stuff like that. And stuff and with college and everything like and stuff like that, you need to make more money and like and I couldn't defend myself. I was trying to, but saying, "Oh no, this is not for you to defend yourself. This is just for you to ask these questions and stuff like that." But like, what's the point of having this conversation if you guys are just going to put accusatory fingers at me instead of helping me make a game plan? Asking me how is my disability affecting your ability to get these things done. They know that I'm working part-time, they know that I'm in school, they know that I'm not getting any financial help from this man, and yet they're, instead of helping me make a game plan, helping me, okay, so this is what we need to do, how about we break this down into steps? You pretty much say, "Oh, here's a list of things you need to do, have fun." How does that help me? How is having this conversation beneficial to me if you're not willing to ask me how what I'm doing, how is this disability help affecting me? What am I doing that's not working? Why aren't you making helping me make these steps? Like, clearly I've been trying to do this on my own and it's not working. More minds is better than just one mind, because two minds are better than just one, because it was just me, my stepmom, and Gabby with me, right? And instead of that, they just like, I understand where they were coming from in that conversation and things like that, but that conversation didn't exactly help me. In a way, I left feeling ashamed and frustrated, and it's kind of also, adding on to the fact that when I pretty much mentioned that there could be a possibility that, the sperm donor that I'm living with might also have autism, they were quick to deny it and saying, "Oh, it's narcissistic or it's ego," instead of just accepting it. You know, the people with disabilities, we have a hard time being listened to already, as somebody with autism, it's really, I'm learning that, the autistic community, the society doesn't really listening to people with autism, there's not a lot of accessible options for for autistic adults and stuff like that. It's already hard for us. It's already hard for the disabled community. We as a community aren't being taken seriously already. And this type of thinking makes it harder for us to get the help that we need. Like, this man has already had so many problems with his thinking, right? And even if he has been says that he was in therapy a couple of times, I don't really believe that, but he says he's been in therapy, but nothing's changed. His thinking hasn't changed. If the therapist was um suggesting that he does these things differently, well, he hasn't been listening to that, you know? And if you're just going to deny the fact that there's probably more wrong with him and he's not really getting making it a priority to work on his demons, it's just, this doesn't help at all. This doesn't help the disabled communities at all. And if you add that onto the fact of the conversation that we had, I don't think they're really understanding how my disabilities and also the shitty situation that I am is affecting me, right? And he pretty much came up with the idea that, yeah, you don't have to pay so much in rent and everything like that and stuff like that. And compared to like living on your own, you have all these other expenses, and if you're living with roommates, then there's concerns with that. But yeah, living with roommates or living on their own is going to be more complicated, but of course it is. Eventually I'm gonna have to go out and move out and take care of these things all by myself. But it's not really beneficial living with this sperm donor, especially when I'm trying to set my boundaries and he's threatening my safety and stuff like that. So even if I were to set those boundaries, because he said that maybe these issues can be fixed when I set boundaries, but when I attempt to do that, this is the result. I get threatened with being kicked out, or I get yelled at, I get my space, violated, and I'm insulted and stuff like that. So it's not a safe environment for me. And I, my aunt is willing to take me in. I mean, or at least I think so. At least from the way that she has been advocating for me, I'm pretty sure she'd be fine with taking me in, but I haven't exactly had that conversation with her yet. I'm still waiting for her to call back. I'll probably call her back later in the day. But, even though I may not have to worry about all these expenses, I'm still living in an abusive environment where if I try to set my boundaries, I'll be, disrespected and my safety threatened. So even the conclusion that they came up with when we had that conversation wasn't really beneficial to me. And it pretty much maybe this is probably reaffirmed um pushes, like, I can't find the word, but it kind of just enforces me just not asking for help because of the judgmental stares and the judgmental language and the words that would said if I asked for help. And it just doesn't do anything but push me away from asking for help from the people that I'm around because of the interactions that I've had with family members in the past. And it kind of just creates more of a frustration because I'm at a point where I do need help, but there isn't any resources out there for me, and my family isn't really doing what they need to do to provide the support that I need. So I've just kind of made the decision to just not tell people what I'm doing because it seems like they have their own opinions of how I need to get stuff done. But because of like my disabilities, like the stuff that works for them may not work well for me. It may not even be the best way for me to do things. So I'm still trying to figure out how I need to get the stuff that I need done. I know from that conversation I realized that, just relying on my chemically imbalanced brain alone isn't really going to help me. I'm probably going to try and see if I can find medication for at least the ADHD part of my disability. However, because of the issues I mentioned before, it's all going to come back to whether or not I'm going to be able to afford the medicine. Because it's one thing, it would be nice if I had, it's one thing to have insurance to cover everything. Like, there's no guarantee that the insurance that I have would cover it, and if it does cover it, there's no guarantee that it'll cover it completely. How much out of pocket am I going to be spending still after insurance covers most of it? So I'll have to try and see if I can find some affordable options for me to get the medicine that I need so that I can work better. But that's pretty much like the situation that I am at this point. You know, I think for my New Year's resolution, if nothing else, um I want to make it my goal next year to be true to myself and no one else. I've constantly been worrying about what other people think, and it's already exhausting enough when I'm masking outside, having to adhere to the rules of society, at least as best as I can, and then coming home and just feeling super exhausted after dealing with the troubles of the day. And because I'm dealing with that, plus my mind is pretty much in survival mode when I'm at home, I don't have any energy to do anything else, whether it's relaxing time for me or just getting other stuff that I need done. And I just want to, you know, make it a goal for next year to get the stuff that I need to get done, and to just be truer to myself and please nobody. Because even though I've been trying to do things that make me happy, there's still behaviors that I do where I'm worrying about what other people are thinking of me and trying to please them, and it's exhausting. And I know this is something that I criticize the sperm donor for, worrying about what other people think of him and stuff like that. But the way that he does it at our detriment. And the way that I'm doing it, I'm wondering, I'm wondering, if I do this, would this make um this person mad? How can I please this person? I don't want to offend anybody, this, that, and the third. I just want you to be nice to anybody. I worry about people in that kind of sense, right? But, it's kind of exhausting most of the time. Like, I don't want to be an asshole just for no reason, but I feel like when I'm trying to please people all the time, I feel like I'm losing a part of myself that really needs some care. And I thought I was taking care of myself, but after thinking about everything that's happened this year and then the whole situation on Christmas, I realized that I'm not exactly taking care of myself in the way that I thought I did. And, considering that I recently got diagnosed, I guess it makes sense, because if you don't know that you actually have a disability, then you won't know the best ways of how to take care of yourself, really. So, I mean, I shouldn't be too hard on myself on that, but I think this year I kind of want to focus on doing the things that truly make me happy and focusing on myself instead of trying to please everybody. That's kind of just where I've been at this year. This has kind of just been a chaotic year for me, and I know it's been a chaotic year for everybody. I'm really appreciative of everybody who had taken the time out of their day to watch my videos and to comment. I really love interacting with all of you guys. I've noticed that I've gained some subscribers from the videos that I've made talking about the situations that I've been interested in. Um so thank you to everybody who had subscribed and everything. Though I do want to say this because I know from the couple of videos where I've gotten quite a lot of views and I've gotten subscribers from that. If you came across my channel from any of those videos, but you haven't exactly been interested in any of the other videos that I'm making, and you've only subscribed to me simply because I had the same opinion than you, then I would kindly ask of you to unsubscribe. I'm not saying this because I don't care about you guys. I really do appreciate all of the views and the support and the comments that I've made and the comments that you guys made. But if you haven't really been interested in like the weird videos that I've been making, cuz I really like a lot of stuff. I like coding, I like gaming, I like crocheting, I like ranting about stuff that I'm passionate about. I mean, like as you can see, the videos that I've made on this channel, they're like an hour or so long each one because I love yapping and stuff like that. Um, and I've told myself before, like in another videos, that I didn't want to specifically make this channel for like art or for gaming or for stuff like that. This is kind of just a channel for me to express myself in the many things that I'm interested in. Um, so yeah, I know I haven't been posting a lot of art, but that's because I just haven't had much motivation for art, and plus, I've mostly been on survival mode trying to make sure that I don't starve. So, if you guys haven't really been interested in my other videos and you haven't if you don't, and you've only subscribed to me because I had the same opinion then you probably should just unsubscribe and subscribe to somebody who has more of the content that you like to watch. I've seen this happen with another YouTuber that I've subscribed to where um she made one video that everybody enjoyed and she gained a lot of subscribers from that, but nobody has really been interested in the other videos that she was normally making. And she made a video saying that, if you've only subscribed to me because of that one video and you haven't really been interested in my other ones, then just please unsubscribe. That's pretty much what I'm saying. That's pretty much what I'm saying here. Cause I'm really appreciative of all the people that came by my channel and interacted. But if you only like a specific style of video and you want me to make more of that, unfortunately, I can't exactly fulfill that request because that's just not how my brain works. I'm not just a commentary channel, I'm not just an art channel, I'm not just a gaming channel. I'm kind of a whatever I'm interested. This is a channel that reflects me as a person, and I like a lot of things. Um, and stuff like that. So that's pretty much where I am at with this channel too. I'm going to keep making the things that I like and enjoy. Um, I haven't really been interested much in like let's plays and stuff like that because I haven't really I stopped doing those a long time ago. I haven't had the motivation to do let's plays like that um for years now. I do have a Twitch and I do live stream random stuff that I'm interested in live streaming over there too. So my Twitch isn't even strictly like a gaming channel or an art channel or anything like that. It's kind of just the same thing over there, but you get to see me live doing random shit. But yeah, I know this kind of got randomly towards the end, but that's pretty much where I'm at this year and my goals for next year. I want to focus on taking care of myself more and doing stuff that makes me happy. And of course, I still want to, focus on school and get school stuff done. But that's pretty much the situation and the mental state that I'm at right now this year. Hopefully next year it's better for everybody. Hopefully the political situation gets better next year, and I hope you know everybody, especially those that are having problems overseas. I know the UK is having issues, with their government. Russia and Ukraine and Palestine and Israel. I hope everything gets better over there. And I just hope things get better everywhere. To be honest, there's a lot of chaos going on, and I hope you guys have a good next year. I hope the year 2026 is better and that more positive things come out this year. Um, and I hope to anybody who comes across this video has a very good New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. I'll try to get this video out before the year's end if I can. But yeah, I thank you to everybody who's come to the channel and has shown me their support and is engaged. I really am appreciative to everyone who decided to stop by and hang out. But yeah, I'm going to go, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your year, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And I'll see you guys in the next video, which will hopefully be the console decorating video, if I don't get distracted. Bye everybody, take care.